morning and welcome to Shaner the Taxpayer show. It's Tuesday morning. I usually film in the afternoons or evenings, but I've been trying to get to this episode since Saturday, but here we are Tuesday, so a lot of the news is kind of late. But before we get started, swig of coffee for all you hard-working people out there. Cheers. Thank you for keeping everything going, people. So, yeah, I've been wanting to do an episode because the last few weeks, my guy, Pierre Poilievre, has been out traveling Europe and the U.S. and doing different podcasts and showing people a different side of him that most people don't see unless you do follow him. Being a fan of his and a follower, a conservative, I've watched him on other podcasts previous years, before the election and everything, so I knew what the guy was all about. And but a lot of people, especially liberal supporters, only see clips of him in the House of Commons being the attack dog that he is. He's great at it, and or they see clips of people bashing him nonstop on the CBC, which is the paid right arm of the government, and CTV as well. I mean, all they do is just trash every single thing the guy does. Anything that the conservatives do, whether it could be the greatest idea in the world, but if it comes from a conservative, not so much. It's crap. But if Carney takes one of Pierre's ideas, then it's a great idea. So I don't know. Anyways, I'll probably get lost in my thoughts. The big news was Poilievre goes on Joe Rogan, and that's the biggest podcast in the world, really. And it was pretty long. It was almost 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 23 minutes, something like that. And I watched it, and it was no surprise to me, although I learned probably more about MMA than anything else. But I didn't learn anything new from Pierre than what he's been saying for years. It's the same policies. It's the same things that we conservatives want. The same changes that need to happen for our country. And what's wrong with our country being prosperous? So there was nothing really new there, other than Americans got to see what he's all about. And I think a lot more Canadians got to see what he's all about for a change, because they're not really seeking out him on other podcasts. A lot of Canadian podcasts, such like Northern Perspective and Jasmine Lane and Elevate and many others, they kind of get buried on YouTube. I don't know how all the algorithms work, but there's definitely a concerted effort to bury conservative podcasts and news. Oh, another one, Juno News. That's a great one to follow. Sorry, just a sec. I'm yapping and I wasted half a cigarette. And so I lost my train of thought. I'll get back to it. So yeah, Poilievre didn't say anything new to me, but I think it was new to a lot of other people. It was certainly new to Joe Rogan. And, I think it shows, and I'm going to demonstrate in a minute here, the difference between Trump and Poilievre, because I'm so sick of people saying POILIEVRE'S is this maple mega bullshit thing, and they're not even close to the same type of person. Not even close. I mean, Trump is just Trump. I mean, nobody's like him. Thank God. Just what's wrong with wanting your country to do well? What's wrong with using our resources? What's wrong with wanting our neighboring country to do well? What's wrong with our allies doing well? Anyways, I gotta take a quick break here for a second. And I gotta fix this too. But before I get into all that, I just wanted to show you this beautiful scenery here. Man, would I love to be there. Oh, it glitched. Of course, when I want to show it. What's going on, internet? What are you doing? Okay, we're back. I would love to sit there and put my pole in the water, or even swim there. That'd be great. So I'm going to set up some clips here, and I'll be right back. And another thing, you've all probably seen this clip that I'm about to show, but I'm going to show it for a reason. Before I go any further, I wanted to apologize for the people that do listen to this, especially my cousin Keith. I'm sorry about any sound issues that have been happening with my show. I have increased my microphone. It is loud. I have a music studio in here. Well, I call it that. I have 5 really big speakers. This is the volume that I actually sing and play my guitar at, and with backing tracks, and when I have my band here, this is the volume that I have it at. And I also have my webcam that I'm recording with. I turned up the recording volume on that the last time. And when I do any editing, I increase the volume, I boost it as loud as it'll go. But as soon as I upload to YouTube, it's got a compression thing that I don't understand how to change. I'm doing as many uhs and ahs as Carney. So there's a compression that happens, and it takes, say I record in 4K, it makes it all standard, and I can have different volumes on my show from one screen to another, and it just makes it all sound the same volume. And I looked into it, and there's different ways of doing editing that, frankly, it's above my head. I don't understand. It's beyond my capabilities. So I don't know how there's so many millions of other podcasts that have figured it out and I can't. But when I personally listen to myself, I don't find any issues. I listen to it on my phone, no problem. Multiple computers, no problem. So I don't know what the issue is for other people or really how to solve it. But anyways, going forward on what I was going to talk about, to show the difference between Trump and POILIEVRE'S. Here's Trump.
Signal too much, you know. When we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right? He's asking me, do you believe in surprise? I think much more so than us.
So, like, I did a whole notes the stop.
Yeah. Good grief. That was some uncomfortable laughs. That was really a lead balloon. So, we all know what Trump is like. Zero filter. He does not give a shit what he says about anything or anybody. I don't agree with the guy. I'm not an American, so I really don't have a dog in the race, but I agree with some of his policies down there on immigration and things like that. But that does not mean I necessarily agree with how they're handling things. But I'm not getting into all that. That's a whole other country. I'm not here to talk about his wars or anything like that. I just want to focus on Canada and things that I actually semi understand. And I understand the difference between Trump and Poilievre. So let's listen to a bit of Poilievre here. So I'm going to show just about 3 minutes of this interview with Poilievre. And I think within the first 3 minutes of this interview, kind of gives you an overview of 2.5 hours of the Joe Rogan podcast and the other podcasts that he was on over in Europe, which I forget the name of. I'm not from there, so I don't really watch their stuff, but he was on different shows that asked him really tough questions, and he really handled himself well. And before I hit play, you know, he had the opportunity to bash Carney on the Joe Rogan show, and he chose the high road. He said he will not bash our prime minister on foreign soil. I mean, the guy's got class. I see where people think he could be arrogant, because when he's asking questions and barking at people in the parliament, he believes in himself. I believe in what he's saying. So he's not wrong. He's just not wrong. So maybe that's where the arrogance comes in, but I find him being showing more humility than most people have seen. I've seen it all along, but anyways, you'll see for yourself. You can leave comments if you want and tell me what you think.
Who's the audience for the speeches that you've been giving on this trip? Is it members of the administration, Americans broadly? Who are you hoping to convey that message to?
The latter. I think we need, first of all, I believe in leverage. We're, as a country, going into renewal of the USMCA, as you call it, CUSMA, as we call it. And one of the greatest leverage points we have as Canadians is the goodwill of Americans. Poll after poll shows Americans like Canadians. They also understand that doing business with us is good for them. So I wanted to accentuate that leverage. I wanted to bring some vivid illustrations of how life could be more affordable for Americans if we had a tariff-free pact between our two countries. And I think when you have Americans on side, the politicians will soon follow.
So your audience is Americans generally, but I imagine you want to convey this to the President of the United States, who's been pushing for tariffs not just with Canada, but countries around the world. Do you think that that message can be resonant with him based on what you know of how he approaches trade?
Yes, because what the President really wants is to repatriate production and jobs to America. And I understand his argument that American jobs have been outsourced to places like China. There are literally cases of American factories closing so that Chinese factories can open. That doesn't happen with Canada. Our role in the American economy is to supply the goods for production. 70% of what we sell you is not for final consumption, but it goes into your production supply chain. So, I'll give you an example. We sell about $100 billion of oil at huge price discounts, by the way. $100 billion, which you turn into $350 billion of final sales. So that means that the refinery worker in Baytown, Texas, is taking heavy crude from Canada and converting it into asphalt and jet fuel and other things like that. earning six-figure jobs. These are like the blue-collar, hardworking American people who the president wants to have bigger paychecks. Well, buying more Canadian goods will allow that. Buying more Canadian lumber will allow your youth to afford homes and your carpenters to swing more hammers. Buying more Canadian aluminum will allow your automakers to produce more F-Series Ford pickup trucks at lower prices to your consumers. So if the president's objective is more American-based production, importing the materials for that production from a reliable neighbor at good prices is part of that plan.
Your itinerary hasn't taken you to Washington. What should we read into that? You not going there on this trip?
Well, I'm very open about it. We only have one prime minister at a time. I don't want to interfere in the negotiations. If at some point the government in Ottawa asks me to intervene and talk with the members of the administration in Washington, I'd be happy to do it. But I think where I can be most helpful is making the pitch to the American people, American legislators and governors, and collaborating with our government back home on making it a success.
I covered the last campaign, and I think there was an inclination on your part to focus inwardly, to focus on Canada, not to take trips.
Okay, we'll leave it there. And I'm back. Was I even gone? Now I'm back YouTubing on my YouTubing. Switching to water, that coffee really dried out my mouth. I got more talking to do. So moving along here, I got some other podcast notes here. Something that happened, I guess, towards the end of the last week. The Minister of Finance, what's his name, Francois Champagne, announced a $10 cap on NSF fees for all the banks. I guess that's supposed to help Canadians. But I think, really, that's a good thing. And that's Liberals doing it. Hold on. Let's be fair. Liberals did a good thing. That's a good thing, right? I mean, truthfully, we've been getting hosed for years with this by all the financial institutions. Apparently, one out of 3 Canadians go NSF annually. So that's a lot. That's a lot of money. I don't know how the banks are going to make up that money. They'll find another way of gouging you, I guess. And then, so I got a debt report. Some of it comes from Stats Canada, and some of it's from the CMHC. So we'll start with Stats Canada. So, household credit market debt surpassed $3.2 trillion in the fourth quarter of 2025, which is 4.4% higher than 2024. So the percentage of credit market debt climbed 0.4% percentage points to 177.2%, meaning there is $1.77 in credit market debt for every dollar of household disposable income. That does not sound good. So, like, every dollar you make, you're $1.77 in the hole. And that's up from, so that's 177.2%. That's up from 174.8% from 2024. So it's definitely climbing. The record level was set in the third quarter of 2022 during the pandemic at 188.2%. And so now we're rising back up, and we don't have a pandemic to blame. I got this statistic from CMHC. This is just for the city of Hamilton alone. There's been a 425% increase in missed mortgage payments since 2022. So after the pandemic, that's how bad things are gotten. Just in Hamilton, I don't know about other places. So I wanna get on the site and look up more information. I forget which podcast I got this info from. I think Northern Perspective. Great show, great people. So thank you for giving me this information. So that's pretty high, 425% increase. I mean, people are just losing their houses left, right, and center. I mean, you think of it. During the pandemic, people were buying houses, especially trying to move north, right? Because everybody's working from home. And the house prices were doubling, and now, say a house doubled up to $1 million, and people are losing their jobs, can't afford the house, missing payments, the bank takes it back, and they're still left with a debt on a house that they don't even have anymore. It's pretty sad. Like I said on my last show, we've lost, for the first 2 months this year, over 100,000 jobs just in the first 2 months this year. That's pretty bad. And where am I at here? The final bad news before we end this show with some fun. The federal debt, which is $1.4 trillion. If you add that together with provincial and municipal debts and liabilities, all of it, all of Canada comes to $4 trillion. So each Canadian and each newborn baby born today owes Canada $101,000. They're automatically in debt. That's what you owe. You could be out of debt. You might be sitting there. Your house is paid for and everything, but that's how much you owe. That's sad. You're born into debt. It'll never be paid off. But, you know, it's funny. It's not funny. It's sad. Even the Liberals turned on Trudeau last year for his astronomical spending and debt, and everybody thought, oh, Carney's the savior. He's a smart banker, you know. He's the man that's going to get all the deals, and he doubled the debt. He doubled it. He doubled in 1 year what Trudeau did in 10. And everybody's okay with that. And he's still ahead in the polls? Can somebody make sense of that? He's not lived up to anything, any of his promises. Businesses are going out of business, or they're moving to the States. We've lost a total of, 200,000 jobs in the last year or more. It's about that. So at what point is this all going to kick in that he's going to change the economy for us? At what point does this make sense? So if you're a liberal and you think he's great, leave it in the comment section here. Explain to me what he's done that makes things so great. Because I'm baffled. We're deeper in debt. I just explained it to you. I didn't make up these figures. You can look it up yourself. When you watch the CPAC and the Parliament, and you see the Conservatives going after the Liberals with these figures, it's not made up. It's not just coming out of thin air. If you watched the last episode that I did, I showed when I spoke about all the different prices on meat and everything, but the meat's gone up 14% year after year over the last several years. That's the beef, and the chicken was 9 or 10%. I don't have it in front of me right now. Like, we're all feeling the pinch. I don't know. Make it make sense. Tell me what Carney's done that's so wonderful, because I don't see it. Record levels at the food banks. People are still living. I wish I copied that website. There's a record level of people living paycheck to paycheck. Anyways, I don't know. I sometimes think I do better with the podcast if I got a beer in me, but we'll see. All right, I got to take a break. I'll be right back. And I'm back with a fresh cup of coffee, and I knew I had this information. I just couldn't remember where I put it, but I saved it in my Facebook here. So look at these numbers. For those of you that are not watching and are just listening, can't talk now. Its unemployment rate as of March 2025 was 6.9%. The unemployment rate for March 2026, 6.7%. So it's down just a tiny bit, However, the budget deficit for March 2025 was $42.2 billion. The budget deficit for March 2026 is almost double. So I was wrong technically when I said it was double. It's almost double. $78.3 billion. So in 1 year it went from $42.2 billion to $78.3 billion. Food inflation under Trudeau, and this is the guy that we all wanted out. PCs, liberals, everybody was against this guy. Food inflation was 2.8%, and we said this guy has to go. But we bring in Carney, food inflation is 4.1%, and he's the savior. Oh, he can do no wrong. Are you freaking kidding me? Again, leave it in the comments. What's so great about Carney? What's so great about him? He's great if you are invested in Brookfield, because he's going around the globe and he's making deals for Brookfield, not for Canada. Don't get fooled when he goes and he signs all these MOUs. And I've said this on pretty much every one of my shows so far, but nobody's really watching or listening. So I'll say it again. He goes to all these different countries, he signs these MOUs. And in case you don't know what that is, that's a memorandum of understanding. That means they understand that they might make a deal. They're going to look into things. It's possible. It's a possibility. It's not actual ironclad deals. I can make one with my next door neighbor and say, hey, I might cut your grass and you might rake my leaves. Doesn't mean we're doing it. I don't know. That was a horrible example, but that's the best I could come up with. Doesn't mean we're doing it. Now, if we say we're going to do it, and we make a deal, and we say, okay, we're going to charge this much, and we're doing it for this much, and it's ironclad, that's an agreement. MOA, Memorandum of Agreement, not you understanding. A, agreement. Huge difference there. I've signed MOAs, and I've benefited from an MOA. MOUs do not prove anything. They're a nice looking piece of paper. They look great to take photos with and shake hands and all that stuff. But it doesn't mean a hill of beans. And we're coming to the end of the show, so that's where we have a little bit of fun. And for anybody that's just listening, I have a picture on the screen of the late, great Chuck Norris. What a shame. But wow, what a legacy he's left behind. 86 years young. I thought he would live a lot longer than that, but wow. So anyways, I have a picture on the screen. He's holding some serious weaponry, and the caption says, Chuck Norris didn't die, he just got bored of being undefeated on Earth. So, obviously, I'm not the only one. It's been going around the entire planet, all the Chuck Norris jokes, so I will do a few of them. And I'll save the applause for the end. So in honor of Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the earth down. When Chuck Norris enters a room, he doesn't turn the lights on. He turns the dark off. Chuck Norris counted to infinity twice. Chuck Norris can divide by 0. When the boogeyman goes to sleep every night, he checks his closet for Chuck Norris. I would too. And Chuck Norris beat the sun in a staring contest. Where's the laughing track? Gotta get my Mr. Roper in every episode, right? Anyways, sad to see it go, Chuck. Thanks for all the memories. Man, I watched a clip, before I go, I watched a clip of him and Bruce Lee doing the karate scenes. I used to think that stuff was so cool back then. Oh man, it's I don't know what to make of it now. I won't insult it. Obviously I can't do any of it, but some of it hasn't aged well, but some of his other shit was really cool. Anyways, I'd like to thank you all for listening or watching, however you're doing this. And please like and subscribe, and please leave comments. I want to hear what you have to say, and again, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening, whatever time of day or evening you're watching or listening. And I'm meandering, so it's really time to go now. Anyways, take care, God bless, and all that jazz. Until next time.